All right, so for this session, the focus is on constructing the building in SketchUp. So we've created the site plan, we've created the conceptual masses, and we're now going to start with the building, and then I'll show you how all of this comes together later. But right now, the focus is on our building. And what I'd like to do is show you how to use an AutoCAD drawing to start your building. You don't have to do this. You can always start drafting, if you will, in SketchUp and then build your model from it. But because we've already drafted this floor plan in AutoCAD, we might as well use that geometry, those lines, to help us. So what you'll do is you'll come up here to File, and then you're going to select Import. So you click on Import, and then it's asking, what do you want to import? And it's already going into my drive. So I'm looking at my files and I'm looking for this X plan. So I'm going to click on X plan, just highlight it, and then click import. And it's going to look at it, give me some import results, and then I'll just click close. And this is what it brings in. This is the stage I was at with my floor plan at the time. So it's brought it in, it drops it in at that origin to match the origin of my AutoCAD drawing. When I give this one click, just to highlight it, I want you to look up here. It says entity info. It's referring to this drawing file as a component. And the definition here is the drawing name. So it's a .gwg. It is now a component inside of SketchUp. We've brought it in. And then if I collapse this for a second and I expand components, you're going to see it listed here in my components. Let's see if I go to in model, it shows me my floor plan. Then the other thing I want to show you, I'm going to collapse components, is tags. I'm going to expand tags. Now tags are the same thing as layers in AutoCAD. So notice how it has brought the layers in and it's showing me the names. Let me click off of this for a moment. And then I'm going to take all of my layers and I'll start referring to them as tags here in SketchUp. I'm going to take my tags and turn them off. And you can see how it all goes away, but it's still there. And if I turn on my walls, I'll be able to see that. And then for some reason, I've got two layers. One is walls, the other one is a wall, so I'll just turn those on. But it's showing me just the walls. And this is helpful to be able to still control my layers. In SketchUp, they're called tags. To be able to control that in SketchUp. So I'll turn them back on so we can take a look at everything that's there. So that's what you need to do. Once you've brought that in, make sure you save as, and you're going to save this and simply call it building. That's all. And look at the specifics as to what it will be called. Make sure you save it back to the appropriate drive, and then you can begin to construct. So I'm going to get started with that right now. And I'm going to pan this over and look at it more or less like this. Now, the figure, if you want to see it, leave it there. If you don't want to see it, you can delete it or you can hide it. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to give it a right click and hide it so that I can focus on just my floor plan here, my building, and I can start drawing, or rather creating my surfaces to extrude. Now, I'm going to get started with the base of my building. And remember, you need to have steps going up to your building. And I'm just going to make all of this out of, let's say, concrete for now. I'm just going to turn it into one solid, um, and then I'll move on to my walls. So to begin with this, I'm going to start with a rectangle, and I'm going to draw a rectangle from this point all the way to this end point. And what it's doing now is it's generating that surface. Now this surface needs to be 18 inches off the ground. So I'm going to type P for press pull, hover over the surface, give it one click. I'm going to move it up like this, and that's going to be 18 inches. I'm just typing 18 inches. You could see that in the lower right corner where it says distance. And then I enter. So that's giving me that surface, or rather that solid. Now, I've said it before, make sure you tap the space bar and then triple click to make the group. But I'm not going to make the group just yet because I need to add my stairs. So I'm going to draw those in, and when I draw that, I'm going to select everything and turn that into a group. So that's 18 inches up. So now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to draw another rectangle. Present the first step here. And I'm just going to go from one endpoint to the other. And then I'm going to type P for press pull and take that up. And this will be 12 inches. So I type 12 and enter. And yes, it does have the faces reversed. That's okay. I'll fix that later. I'm just trying to get all of my solids in here. So I'll go back and draw another rectangle from this endpoint over to that endpoint, and then type P for press pull. Click on that surface, take it up, and I'm going to type in 6 and enter. And that's also, it also has the surfaces reversed. And that's going to be just fine. All right, I'm going to tap the space bar, and now I will triple click. And make group. And now that's a group, and I want to edit this because I have extra lines. I think it's really important to just get rid of these additional lines. So, and I'm going to say component edit, hide the rest of the model when I'm editing a group. So I click on that, and then I'm going to double click my group. And now I'm just seeing my group here, and I'm just going to orbit around so you can see everything. And notice how here at the bottom it's empty, and that's all right. We can fix that by simply drawing a line from this endpoint over to that endpoint, and that'll close it up. And then the next thing I'm going to do is tap the space bar and then come up here to my styles, and I'm going to select display in X-ray mode because I want to be able to see through my solids here, my surfaces. And I can see I have extra lines. And what I'll do now is type E for erase, and I'll just start erasing the lines. So I'm going to erase this one by clicking on it. I don't need this line here, so I'm going to delete that. Deleting this one here, and then I go to the far end, and I'll delete that line and that one. So I've basically turned this into one solid and no extra lines in the middle. And now I'm going to tap the space bar, and then I'm going to turn off this X-ray mode, and then pan, orbit, take a look at this. And now for these faces that were reversed, I'm just going to click on them individually. One here, right click it, and then I'll reverse the face. Click on this one, right click, reverse, and then the same thing with the remaining two. All right. So this is what my foundation, if you will, if you want to think about it that way, of my building looks like. And typical buildings here in Chicago, they're going to have basements, but we're not going to focus on that. We're just going to assume that this is the build up to my building, and then I'm just going to continue. So now I have this object in place, and I need to continue with my building, but you'll notice that my X-plan, my drawing file, is sitting below. So I need to be able to see through that. And the only way to do that is to move my building up. So I need to take this component and bring it up 18 inches. To do that, I'm just going to come over here to this corner like this. Zoom in here. I'm going to click off of everything so that nothing is highlighted. And then I'm going to click on my building. And it's not picking the building, is it? Okay, let's see if I click here. Does that pick the building? No. It's a little tricky. How about if I click out here? That picks the building. But if you're having trouble picking it, it's okay. You can always take this object here, right click it, and can I hide it? Yes. And then you'll just have to manually move it up 18 inches. And I'll do that right now. I'm going to click right here, and then I'm going to type M. I'm going to pick this M point, take it up, and I want to constrain it to blue axis. So I'm going to use my up arrow key, and I'll type 18, enter. So I've moved it up 18 inches. I'll tap the escape key, tap the space bar, and then I'm going to come over here to click on edit, unhide, last, and it brings it right back. So now I've brought it up. So that's one way to do it, because if you're not able to select the object, that's a workaround. But let me show you another way in case you are able to select the object. So let me just edit, undo this, unhide. I'll do Control Z a couple of times here. There we go. So I was right about here. And because I had this extra part of my drawing sitting out here, I was able to click on that. So that highlights my component. And then I can go ahead and just type M, and I move it from this endpoint up to that endpoint. And it sits right on top of my foundation here. Tap the escape key, tap the space bar. I pan this over, and then now is a good time. Control S, and then we can move on to the walls. So I'm going to orbit over this way, and I'd like to start modeling my building. And what I like to do is I like to model the exterior walls first and then the interior walls. You can do them all together, but if you do that, you just have to be mindful that you're going to have one group, and if you want to paint your walls or add materials, you just look at it a little bit differently is all. But I'm going to separate everything out right now just because that's a personal preference, but you don't have to. You can do it all at once. Um, and what I'm going to do also is I'm going to take this solid that we just made. I'm going to right click it. I'm going to hide it again because I don't want to see it, and out of sight, out of mind, and I'm able to really focus on my building. So let me show you two, maybe three ways. For those of you that are interested in modeling all of this at once, which is fine, I want to show you how to do that a couple of different ways. And then I'll come back and do my exterior walls. So just the walls, and I want to focus on that. So I'm going to take my tags here, and I'm going to turn off the tags that I don't need to see right now. And I'll leave my wall layer on. So this is my building here. I'm going to ignore this portion up there. That was the block I had brought in. But this is what I want to have as my building. So if you're going to model everything at once, here's how you could do it. You select your rectangle, and you're just going to start drawing rectangles to represent the outline of your building like this. And see how it fills everything up? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and draw a rectangle in this area like this. And then I'm going to type E for erase, and I'll just click and drag across here to pick both of those lines, and it erases that. So this can work, and this is still a whole surface, but then what I need to do is continue this process. So one way to do this, might save a little bit of time, is draw another rectangle, let's say from here to there, and then tap the space bar, and then click on this new surface like this, and then tap delete. So it's just leaving the outside walls and the inside walls, but now I have to come back and put in the walls here. So what I'm going to do now is draw a rectangle from here to there. Notice how it fills everything up. That's fine. Tap the space bar, select that surface again, and delete it. So this is maybe a little time consuming, so I'll try a different way. I'm going to type L for line. I'm just going to draw a line from here over there, and I'm just going to trace this. Again, it fills it up. Didn't expect that to happen. That's okay. Space bar, click here and delete. So you can do this to get all of your inside and outside walls going. And I'm going to continue. I'm just going to pick up the pace a little bit here to show you how this can work out. And just keep an eye on what I'm doing here. I'm basically hollowing out this area and then tap the space bar, click here and delete, click here and delete, E for erase the lines there. And I'm just going to keep moving around and rectangle from here to there. Space bar, click here, delete that, keep going. Rectangle from here to there. Space bar, click this, delete. And then I have the areas here that also need to get cleared out. So I'm going to draw a rectangle from here to there. Another one from here to there. And then space bar. Click on that surface, delete it. Click on that surface, delete it. And I'm just going to erase the two lines here, the two lines there. I could have done that before as well. I'm going to pick up the pace here a little bit. And then I'll draw another rectangle here. And then another rectangle here. Nope, I didn't get it to go all the way, so let's try again. There we are. Space bar, delete, delete, delete. And it looks like it took away that information on the inside. That's all right. I'm just going to erase these lines here. And then I will go ahead and draw a line and trace this. That finished it off. Great. And I'll continue over here. And I just want to make sure I'm tapping or hitting those endpoints. Click here, delete, and then I've got extra lines, so I'm going to erase this line and then erase that line. And I'm almost there. Another rectangle. Fill that area in, that's okay. If I erase this line, space bar, click here, delete. So there we go. And then this is where I have my openings, and I could take care of that right now. So let me orbit around this way. Basically draw a rectangle from here to there. Space bar, click on this, delete. Can I erase the lines here? Yes, I can. And then do the same thing over here. Erase, let's see. Yep, and erase through. All right, that's what I wanted. Now here, let me turn off the walls. And this is what I'm left with. It took a little bit of time, but it works. Just have to be patient with everything. And then I would type P for press pull, click here, and notice how it's going to raise all the walls except for that one in the far corner because it's not connected, but I can always push pull that up later. And then we'll talk about height, but let me pause here, tap the escape key. And then I'm just going to select everything and delete, and I'm going to start all over and show you another way of doing this. So if I'm going to start with just my exterior walls, I could do the same thing where I draw some rectangles like I did before, but this time I'm going to start with a line. I just have to remind myself where it is that I'm going to start, and I think I'll pick this corner here, and then I'm just going to walk around the perimeter and trace my footprint of my building like this. Come over here, click there, and it generates that surface. Tap the escape key, or rather the space bar. I'm going to turn off my walls, and this is what I'm left with. And then I'm going to use a new tool. It's the offset. But before I use that, I just want to take a quick look at my walls here and just measure them to make sure that I remember my distance. So from this edge to that edge, 8 inches. Okay, I'm not going to click. I'm just going to tap the escape key. All right. Space bar. and then I'm going to turn off that layer or turn off the tag. All right, 8 inches. So I'm going to come over here and use this tool. This is offset. I click on offset and then I hover. As long as I'm on an edge or near an edge and it tells me on edge, I click once. And then I'm going to move my cursor to the inside so that I know it's offsetting inward. And then I'm going to type the distance or the thickness of the walls, which is 8 inches. So I type 8 and enter. Spacebar. And then I select this surface on the inside and delete it. So that's generated the entire perimeter, which is, if I turn my tags back on, apologies for having two duplicate layers here. I have my outside walls, and now if I want them all to be connected, let me do this. I'll draw a rectangle, and I'll start at this corner, all the way over to that corner. Yes, it fills everything in. That's okay. Just go back and select and delete so that you can keep track of everything here. And then zoom it in, and I'll draw another rectangle. I'm just going to keep going with rectangles here, like this. I know it's going to fill everything in. That's fine. I'm going to come back and erase that in a second. I'll draw a rectangle here, and I'll draw another rectangle here, like this. Can I take it all the way across? I sure can. And then another rectangle from here to there to there. I'm going to pause now, tap the space bar, click on this surface, delete it, click on this surface, delete it, just to see what I have here. And then I'm going to keep going. Same thing that I did before. Rectangles from endpoint to endpoint. Repeat it. Keep going. Keep going. And then take this one all the way across. Rectangle there, and I think one more here. Tap the space bar, click on the surface, delete it, click on this surface, delete it, and this is what I have so far. But I'm not done. I'm going to turn off my walls. This is what I have. Now, if I go to push-pull, I'm going to type P. Notice how it's selecting, they'll have lines in between. So I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to type E for erase and erase these extra lines. And you can go ahead and erase the lines connecting the exterior walls. That's entirely up to you. So you can do that. Come over here, erase the lines there. I took one too many. Let me undo that. Zoom in a little closer. Click and drag across. Erase these here and there and there. And I think that takes care of everything. One more. Zoom it out. Pan over. Get that centered here on my screen. And then type P for push-pull. Click here. And notice how that'll take everything up. Except for that area in the middle. So I don't know what's going on there. I'm going to tap the escape key. And, oh, I see, I forgot that line. So erase this line. And then I can type P for push-pull again, and that will raise it. But I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to tap the escape key, turn on my walls again, because I have the openings here. So just like I did before, I'll draw rectangles where I have these openings. I think it drew that one there. I'm not sure. I went too quick. Let me undo and try again. From this endpoint to that endpoint. You have to make sure it's touching the endpoints. Otherwise, it will be a problem later on. There we go. Spacebar, turn off my walls, and then E for erase, and just erase the openings here, like that, and click and drag across. So that's another way of doing it. And I'll tell you what, I know I said I was going to separate my walls. I'll keep them together for now. But it works either way. Doing the exterior separate from the interior, it's fine. Let me tap the space bar, And now would be a good time to save. So Control S to save. So now it's time to push pull. So I'm going to type P and hover over any one of these surfaces. They're all connected, and I'm just going to give it a click and take it up. Of course, I'm still missing that end. I'll take care of that in just a second. And for the height, if you want the inside of your building to have an 8-foot ceiling, that's fine. Just add another foot to account for the structure that's going to make up the roof. We're not going to get into the details of the roof, but just I want you to think about that because we're going to get to it. So if you want a 9-foot ceiling, just make some modifications, but these are things that I think about that you need to also think about when you're laying out or when you're generating your models. So let me assume I have an 8-foot, let's see, yeah, 8-foot ceiling height, and then I have to think about that 1 foot. And do I want to take my ceiling? Well, see, these are the exterior walls. Let's say I want an 8-foot height inside. So I'm just going to type in 8 feet for now, and I'll keep that extra foot in the back of my mind when it comes time to put in my roof. So 8 feet for now, like that, and enter. All right, these are my walls, and I'm going to orbit around this way. And I now need to push pull this piece of wall up. So I click on it, and I don't need to type in the value. I just have to come over here to any one of these endpoints, and it's going to constrain to that height. So I'll pick this endpoint here, give that a click. And then I will zoom out. And this is now my set of walls. Tap the space bar, triple click, selects everything. And then I want that to be included, so I need to select that as well. And I need to hold down the shift key in order to include it. So holding down the shift key, triple click, picks that as well. So all of this, I want that to be one single group. So now I right click, and I will now say make group. And when I make a group, I checked over here, my volume, it has a value, which means that this is a good solid. So I'm all set there. So those are my walls. Now, for my openings here, let's see, I'm going to go back to my layers / tags and turn these on to see what I've got. So remember, I have my door opening here, and then these are going to be windows. So I want to show you the door opening here, and also the doors on the inside, and then how would I show a window? So let's start with the door first, because I'm already there, and I'm going to model that door in a little bit. So my door, let's say it is a 6'8" door. That's a residential size, 6 feet 8 inches. And then we have a 2-inch frame. So that's going to have a total height of 6 feet 10 inches. Now, I don't like doing the math in my head. So watch what I'm going to do here. I want to take that into account, the whole 6 foot 10 inches. So I'm going to draw a rectangle from here. I'm going to take it across like this. Tap the space bar. Type P for press pull. And I'm going to take this up that distance of 6 feet 10. Enter. So what I need to do is I need to add another rectangle here to make up for that opening. But I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to tap the space bar. I'm going to double click my group because I want to put it into the group. So give that a double click. Now, I had set this to hide the rest of my components. I want to change that now. I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to say, I'm sorry, view, component edit, and do not hide the rest of the model. There, I just want to be able to see that. So I'm in my group, and now I'm going to click on rectangle from this endpoint over to this endpoint. And then I'm going to type P for push pull. Let me tap the escape key. Looks like it has that other face selected. And then I can now click here, bring it down, and I'm going to let it snap to that endpoint right there. Give that a click. And then tap the space bar. And then just for a moment, I'm going to click outside. And then triple click this solid. And then just delete it because it served its purpose just to give me that height. And now when I look at this solid, I'm in good shape. If I double click it, first of all, notice how it says the type. It doesn't give me a value. So there's extra lines here that I need to get rid of so that it does show me a volume. So I'm going to double click. And then I do want to go back to hiding the rest of the model. And then I want to turn on my display in X-ray mode. And here are the extra lines that I need to remove. So that's a decent view. If I need to, I'll zoom in and then E for erase. And I know that I don't need this line. Neither do I need that one or that one. Come over to the other side, orbit as needed so that you can focus on just those extra lines. I'll erase this one, that one, and that one. And that's a clean surface now. I'll tap the space bar. I'll click outside of my group. I'll turn off the X-ray mode. And now I'm going to try and click on it. And you can see how now it does give me a volume. So it helps to get rid of those extra lines. All right, that's one way to create that opening. I'll show you another way that I would do this. And let's say that I want this window to kind of match the height there of that door. And I'm just going to do this on purpose to show you a different method of doing this. So I'm going to go back into my group. Notice how the rest of the model is hidden from view. Great. And I'm going to click on this line. And that line is now highlighted. And I'm going to type M for move. I'm going to click right here. And then I'm going to start to raise that. And I'm going to tap the control key because I want to make a copy. So control key. And now it's taking it up. And I want to make sure I constrain to the blue axis. So I'm going to tap the up arrow key. And now how high do I want it to go? I want it to match this height right there. So I'm constraining it to that line. And I click. Done. That gave me the height that I wanted. I could have typed in 6 feet 10 inches, but I just want to take advantage of geometry that was already there. And then I'm going to type P for push-pull. And because that line separated and created two surfaces here, now I can just click on this surface and take it straight across, line it up with this surface. And you do have to move your mouse a little bit so that it finds that endpoint. Once it does, give it a click. And now it completed that. And I'm just going to go into X-ray mode. And then I'm going to type E and erase these extra lines. Get out of the X-ray mode. Tap the space bar. Zoom out. Click away from my group. And then I'm just going to give it one click. And it has a volume again. Great. So let me show that to you one more time. Only this time, I'm going to put a sill. I'm going to put, well, let's say about a 2-foot sill for now. So I'm going to start again, double click on this line, type M for move, click right here, take it up, tap the control key. I want it to constrain to blue. It looks like it is already, but just to make sure, up arrow key. And now I'm going to type in 2 feet and enter. So it made a copy of that line. And then I type P for push pull, click on this surface, take it across, let it find that endpoint. When it does, give it a click. And in this case, look at how it cleaned that up. Sometimes it will do that, not always, but this time it did. And I have that opening nice and clean. I'll zoom out, tap the spacebar, click outside of the group. I'm just going to give the group one click because I'm always keeping an eye on the volume. Looks good. And this is a really good time to use Control S to save your file. So there's a couple other ways I want to show you how to get openings in your model. So I showed you a couple right now. I'm just going to orbit this way and come in over here. And then in this one, in this opening, I want to do the same thing. I want to give it a 2-foot height off the ground, and I want to match the height of my door opening over here. Watch how I'm going to do this one. I'm going to give my group a double click, and I'm in my group now, and I'm going to draw a rectangle. So I'm going to go up here to rectangle, click on this endpoint, and then click on that endpoint. And yes, it is reversed, and that's all right. I can work with that. In fact, I can go ahead and tap the spacebar, give it one click, right click, and reverse the face now before I push pull it. Okay. And then I'm going to type P for push pull. And let me just angle it this way because you're going to see what I'm going to do in just a moment here. And I want to push pull this surface up. So I'll give it a click now. Let it keep going up. And then I'm going to move my cursor way over here so that it matches the height of this endpoint. So I'm going to give that a click. So that's all set. I'm going to keep going. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to tap the control key. And with the control key, that means it's going to make a copy of this face. So I give it a click and it starts to go up. Notice how it's creating a new surface there. And I want this to line up with the endpoint right here of my door opening. So I give that a click. And then because I still have the plus sign there, that means it's going to generate another copy. So I'm just angling this in such a way so that the boundary there of the group doesn't really get in the way. So I'll do it like this. I click and see how it's making a copy. And I'll just click on this endpoint over here like that. So I started at the base and I basically did a push pull 2 more times and I tapped the control key so that it makes a copy. And now I'm just going to tap my space bar, click on this surface, tap the delete key. Click on this surface, tap the delete key. And I created that opening. And then it's just going to be a matter of cleaning this up and getting rid of the extra lines. So I'm going back to my display in X-ray mode. And now it's going to be a matter of orienting my view so that I can focus on those extra lines. I'll type E for erase. And I'll just erase the lines that are unnecessary while still keeping my opening in place. And then I'll orbit this way, pan. And by now you should start feeling real comfortable panning and orbiting around your model. And this is only possible in this X-ray mode. Without it, I'd have to do things a lot different. But this is a really helpful way of deleting these extra lines. So that leaves me with my opening. Tap the spacebar, click outside of my group, and then turn off the X-ray mode. I have that. I see that this surface is reversed. So I'm going to go into my group, select that surface, right click it, and reverse face. You don't have to. It's not that big of a deal. I'm just being a little particular here. And then I'm taking a look at my underside to make sure that that's okay too. And it is. Zoom out, click away from my group. And then I'm going to give my group one click. And I see that it still has a volume. Great. All right. And then one more opening that I want to put in here. I'm going to come over to this side and I'm just going to be somewhat arbitrary. Now, my plan, my drawing, and here, let's see if I go back to X-ray mode. Yeah, there's my drawing underneath. I didn't have a window there, but I'm just going to put one in now to show you how you could model this. So let's say I want a window right here near this corner, and I want it to be, let's say, 2 feet wide. And I want it to match the height of the other windows. So here's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to double click in my group, and then I'm going to select this edge, sorry, that edge right there. And it is highlighted blue, so it was selected. And then I'm going to type M for move. And I'm going to pick anywhere on that edge like this. Click it, and then I want to move it back. Notice how it wants to snap or constrain to the green axis. I need it to constrain to red axis. So I'm going to use my right arrow key, and I'm going to move it back. Now, it's doing some really interesting things there because it's assuming that I'm going to move, but I'm going to tap the control key. When I tap the control key, it's going to make a copy. And I want to bring this over, I'm going to say 3 feet. So I type 3 feet, enter. So I'm copying that line 3 feet over. And now I'm going to take this line because it's highlighted in blue and I'm still in the move command. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to tap the control key. It's constraining to red axis, but I'm still going to use my right arrow key to make sure. And the width on this window, I want it to be 2 feet. So I'm going to type in 2, or I can also type in 24 inches, by the way. So 24, enter. Otherwise, I would have to type in 2 feet and the apostrophe. So that this works. All right. So now by doing that, I've established the width of my building. I'm going to tap the escape key so that nothing is selected. I'm going to tap the space bar because I want to start from scratch here. And I want to take this line at the bottom now and select it. Now, it gets a little tricky to see, but once I click on it, it is selected, and I can see in my entity info that there is a line selected and it's 2 feet in length. So I'm good there. And I'm going to type in M, and I'm going to click on this endpoint, and I'm going to move it up. So constrain it to blue axis, up arrow key. And it's going to do some interesting things there until I tap the control key. When I tap control, now it's making a copy. And I want to take this up and I want it to align to this endpoint or this line here. So once it's constrained, I click. And then I'm just going to take it from that edge, click on it, take it up, tap the control key because I want to copy. Use the up arrow key to constrain the blue axis, and I want to constrain it to this line and give that a click. Now, tap E for erase, and I can erase the extra line segments like this. Tap the spacebar. I'm still in my group. And then type P for push-pull. See how it's separated this out into 2 different surfaces? I want to take this surface, and I'm going to click on it, and I can pull it out, but I want to push it back. So I'm going to slowly move my cursor back, slowly, and then when it shows me that it's aligning to an edge there you go. It says on face. That's when I click. And that generates the opening. So it does away with that extra surface on the backside. So I now have my window opening there. So those are different ways of creating openings in these solids. And in our case, we're making the openings because that's where we're going to put doors and windows. So I'm going to come in over here to the inside of my building now. And I know that I want to have a soffit going across here. So since I'm already in my group, I want to show you something, more ways, again, of doing this. So I can draw a rectangle, or I can do this. I can type L, and I'll just draw a line from this endpoint over to this endpoint, like this. And notice what it did. It filled that whole area up. That's all right. Now I'm going to draw a line from here to there and let it snap to that endpoint. Great. Tap the space bar, select this surface, delete it. Select this surface, delete it. And there are some extra lines there. I'll get to those in just a minute. And then from here, I can now type P for push-pull. Click on this surface, bring it straight down, and notice what it's doing. It's going to give me like an opening at the top. If you want to avoid that, sometimes you can tap the control key. And by using the control key, it makes a copy of that surface, so now it's closed up. And then I'll check the bottom and make sure that that's closed too. It is going to constrain to blue, and then I'm just going to hover right over here so that it matches that endpoint. Give it a click. Done. Tap the space bar, and I just want to inspect this from the underside. There we go. I'm near a wall, so let me zoom out. There we are. And now I can take a look at that, and everything looks to be good. I'm going to turn on my, I'm going to turn on my X-ray mode, and then E for erase, and erase these extra lines that I don't need. So this one is not necessary. This one up here, that's the corner, I believe. I'll check that in just a second. Over here, I don't need this one. I also don't need that one. And I'm just going to orbit to the inside and make sure that the lines should be there. And yes, they do need to be there, but I don't need this one, and I don't need this one over here. So I'll erase that one too. All right, and that's a clean solid now. Tap the space bar, turn off my X-ray mode, and I believe I accidentally clicked somewhere over here, but that's all right. I can leave it there and switch over later. Click off of my group, and then just out of curiosity, I click on it. Still has a volume. Great. So this is just me keeping track of it. And then I'll finish this off for the door openings here. I'll double click into my group, rectangle from this endpoint over here. And yes, it does generate these surfaces because it's assuming that I want to close that off, and that's all right. Tap the space bar, click on the surface, delete, click on the surface, delete, P for push pull, click here. It's already going to generate a solid, and then I'm just going to let it snap to that edge. And then I will do the same thing on the other side, like this. And then from here, let me show you another way I would do this. I'm just using these openings as opportunities to show you some modeling techniques. So let me hit the space bar. I'm going to take this line here. I'm going to type M for move, select that endpoint, up arrow key to constrain to blue, tap control. It's going to move it straight up, and I want it to align to this endpoint here, that line, give that a click. So now I have that point. Now watch this. Let's put it right there. And then I'm going to go to my rectangle. And I will draw a rectangle from this endpoint over to this endpoint. Notice how it's putting it on a different axis. I'm going to click it. And yes, it closed everything off. That's fine. Tap the space bar. Click on the surface, delete. Click on the surface, delete. That's just the nature of SketchUp. And now, P for push-pull. This surface back and let it align to this midpoint is fine, or any edge right there. Give that a click. Done. And that's how I can generate that opening. And then spacebar, come over here to turn on X-ray mode and start erasing the extra lines. So I type E for erase. And you'll get comfortable looking at all of these lines. It may be a little overwhelming right now. Just be patient with yourself, but you'll get used to it. Okay, I think that does it. Toggle that X-ray mode off. Spacebar, click away from my object. I go back and give it one click. I'm still checking the volume. Great. So this is how you would model the walls. And again, I separate them out. You can do them all as one. It's okay either way. And my surface, my concrete pad here with my stairs, I had turned that off or I have it hidden. Can't remember. So I'm going to come up here to view. I'm going to say show me hidden objects. And it was hidden. So I'm just going to click on it, right click and unhide it. Click off of it. Go back to view and turn off hidden objects. This is what I have. And now is a good time to save. So Control S, and then you can keep moving forward. All right, just a couple more things I want to do here, though, to set this up and get it ready for the next phase. And I've created a couple of solids here. One is my base, and the other one is my building. And I think now's a good time to add tags. And what I what I'm going to do is obviously I have tags expanded. If you do not, that's okay. Just come in here and click on the down arrow. And then click on the plus sign here where it says add tag. So I'm going to do that now. Give it one click. And that gives me a new tag. And then I'm just going to type in base like this. And sometimes what I like to do is I like to use the prefix 3D, sorry, like this, 3D base. And that way I know what is two-dimensional line work and what is 3D modeling. So I do 3D base, and I'm just going to enter. And I'm just going to expand this so you can see it. There we go, 3D base. And that's where I'm going to place my base. So I'm going to select it like this. And then it's showing me the entity info. And right now under tag, it is not tagged. So I'm going to place it on 3D base like this. And then I'm going to click off of it. And now instead of having to hide it, I can just turn the tag on and off. So that's nice. I'm going to make another tag. And this one is going to be my 3D walls, both interior and exterior. I'll enter, and then I'll select my building, come up here to my tag, drop down, and I'm going to select 3D walls. Click off of it. So now I can toggle that information off and on. So that's really nice. And then the last thing I'm going to do here is add some materials. So I'm going to expand materials. I look at my materials. I'm already in asphalt and concrete. If you're not there, click on the drop down and just select that category. And I'm going to look for, let's see, that's asphalt. I want concrete. And you can pick either one of these is fine. I'll go with this one for now. Click on it, and I'm just going to apply that material to this solid. All set. And now my building. So let me tap the space bar. And so I can focus on just the building. I'm going to scroll down here and turn off my base. There we go. And I'm also going to turn off the other tags. Okay. So now for my building, I want to show you something. Let's say I want my exterior to be brick. So I'm going to click on brick. And I'll just pick this brick for now. So I click on that, and then I click on my solid, my group. And notice how it's going to place brick throughout. And that's not what I want exactly. I want the interior to have like a paint color to it. So let me undo this and show you how I've been doing this. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to focus on the primary color, the one that's going to be dominant. So I don't have paints. I have plaster. I want to see what plaster is going to show me. So that has a color to it, but I prefer to come in here and just select solid colors. So I'm going to click there. give it a moment here to load all the options. So these are all the colors. Scroll through, pick a color that you like. And I'm just going to go with something that's a little off-white, like this. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to apply that to my group. And what that will do is it's going to paint everything. But this is the predominant color. And I'm going to take care of my exterior walls in just a moment. So that's all set. I tap the space bar. Now, double click inside the group. And then when you double click inside the group, you have control over these different surfaces. And now I'll go over here and select brick. And I'll pick that brick material. And now that brick, I'm just going to assign it to the exterior faces. And I'm just going to go around my building like this and pick the exterior faces. And that takes care of all of them. And then I tap my space bar and click away. Now, if you want to change the color of the walls, I can go back to solid colors. Let's say I want something that's a little bit lighter. Let's see if I can find it here. Maybe this color, golden beige. I click on that, and then I click on my material, or rather on my group here, give it one click, and notice how it updates all of the walls except for the exterior ones because I have basically overridden that material there. And that color is, for some reason, coming in a little different than what I thought. So I'm looking for something that is much lighter. Maybe it's going to be this color here, vanilla cream. And then I click, and that's a little better for me now. Okay, tap the space bar. I'm going to collapse my materials, and then I'm going to turn on my two tags here that are 3D based. And this is the start of the model. This is your building. There's more to add. And if you find that you want to make some changes here that are different from what you have on your AutoCAD drawing, that's fine. You can always go back and modify the AutoCAD drawing. So for example, I decided to put a window here. It wasn't there in my AutoCAD drawing. I'm going to go back and include it. So make as many changes as you want. And as long as both the AutoCAD drawings and this model look similar to one another, it's going to be fine. If a window is missing here or there, it's not going to be a big deal. Remember, the goal of this course is for you to learn how to use the software. So you're learning how to use AutoCAD, you're learning to use SketchUp. It has nothing to do with it having to be exact or matching precise. So close enough will do. And this should get you started, and then we'll move on to the next phase in the next tutorial.